Noob School. All right, welcome back to Noob School, episode 131. I should know what I'm doing by now, Wendy.
I think so.
I hope
You got
so.
this.
I've got a longtime friend, family friend, Wendy Thacker, joining me today from ScanSource.
Yes.
So thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here and have a conversation.
Great. Well, I know a lot of people over at ScanSource, and I've kind of known ScanSource since before they were even founded, when they were, Mike and Steve were just talking about what they were going to do.
Yeah.
But over the last 28 years that you've been there, if I really wanted to get something done, I couldn't get Mike on the phone, I would call Wendy.
Yeah, just call it GSD, get stuff done.
Get stuff done.
Get stuff done. Yeah.
Now, so again, you have run different departments within ScanSource. You've run, I forget your terms for them.
I've had experience in the supplier organization,
Okay.
On the security side and on the point of sale barcode side.
Okay.
Back when those were separate divisions, so to
Okay.
speak. I've been in the marketing role, been in our services group,
Okay.
back in marketing,
Yeah.
and now in a new role
Okay.
focusing on community and philanthropy.
Philanthropy. But in those roles, how is it that you were the person I could call of all your 4,000 employees or whatever it is, and you knew how to get stuff done?
I think that when you're with an organization and you've been there a long time, one of the huge benefits is you always know the right people. And so I consider myself a connector.
Okay.
And so I'm really good, even in this new role,
Right.
but when you would call as well, at knowing the right person who's going to know the answer, where can I go get it done, how to go figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I think that just has to do with longevity
Yeah.
and being at an organization for a long time and just knowing the people
Right.
that I need to go to. Plus, I know you,
Yeah.
and I'm going to follow up on a commitment. So if you call me, I'm going to go figure out how to get it done, or call you back and say, hey, I can't do it.
Right.
And
right.
so I'm one of those, like if it comes in my inbox, it needs to be dealt with, checked off, and out of the inbox.
Right. Huh. Yeah, well, Wendy's had a great career at ScanSource, probably one of our best companies in the Greenville area. It's a multi-billion-dollar company
Yeah.
with thousands of employees,
Yes.
global.
Global. Yes. So we have offices across the United States, have some folks in Latin America.
Yeah, I can remember, I'm sure I've told you, but I can remember, visiting with your co-founders before they started the company, and they had a little borrowed office somewhere and a whiteboard up, and they had all their ideas for a business on there. And one of them was laptops. They were going to compete with Dell.
Yep.
And there's a couple more, but the last one on the list was barcode distributor. I was like, what are you thinking? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And sure, that's what they went with, and it started. And I think one of the reasons it worked, and then I want to hear your thoughts, but they found a niche nobody else was really doing, right? No one was focusing on. That's why it was so funny to me. Was really, and nobody was doing it, and their unique experience from where they had worked previously let them know that they knew exactly how to do it.
Yeah, I think that they're really good at being very intentional about different types of technology and taking the complexity out of it.
Yeah.
So making it easier to transact. But, they tell stories about their early days. Our sales reps were just calling people and saying, hey, if we got a barcode scanner, would you buy it from us? And so that's kind of how we got started, just that everybody works really hard,
Yeah.
Very entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Just to try and figure out how to get it done. And we've been intentional about different acquisitions that we've made over the years and how they complement and move the channel forward. So it's been very exciting to watch, going from first $1 million months to multi-billion-dollar distributor has been fun.
So, have you been to many of the offices around the world?
I have been in the United States. Primarily for ScanSource.
Okay.
And so I've been to a lot of those offices and, of course, our distribution center, which is phenomenal in South Haven, Mississippi.
Mississippi,
It's
yeah.
right on State Line Boulevard.
Yeah.
Tennessee on one side, Mississippi on the other,
Yeah.
on the tail end of FedEx's runway. And that DC has always run like clockwork. I mean, you've been in plenty of distribution
Yeah.
centers. This place is clean, organized, ready to go. They have bicycles so you can
Yeah.
get from point A to point B because it's so large.
Yeah.
And we're one of the last pickups of the day. So it's allowed us that flexibility to have that single source warehouse distribution model, which has been really nice.
And with your customers, as I understand it, there are thousands and thousands of value-added resellers that are putting together configuring solutions for their customers. Many of those products are coming from ScanSource, from that distribution facility. So to be able to get the order out that day,
Yes, it's a big deal on the specialty side of the house. So the
Yeah.
specialty side, ScanSource specialty, definitely using that. And then we have Intellisys acquisitions and some other things that's a whole nother
Right.
ball of wax to talk about. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to that, but let's
Okay.
back up. One of the things we like to do is back up to the beginning
Okay.
and figure out, what's your earlier life and what your career rise has been to get where you are today. So I think I remember you grew up in Greenville.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a native.
Yeah,
There
you're
aren't that many of us left.
No, me and you are
This
native.
accent is legit.
Where'd you
So
go to high school?
I went to Malden.
Went to Malden High School, okay. And your brother Mike, did he go to Malden
He
too?
went to Malden and
Okay.
then finished high school in Mount Pleasant. Yeah.
Okay. Mike's been on the podcast
Yes.
at least once, maybe twice.
Maybe. He's a good sales guy.
Yeah, I think he came on when he started his car business. You believe
Doing-
cars?
Listen, doing phenomenally well. And
Yeah.
he'll tell me about the latest car, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
I didn't know a
And
car
he's
could
like,
cost.
how do you not know that? I
Yeah.
mean, it costs more than your house.
I know. He's
Yeah.
like, this costs $1 million car. I'm like, I don't want to get within 10 feet of it.
No. But he loves it. It's always been his passion.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad and thankful to see him realize that passion, because if you don't love what you do,
Yeah,
then it's a job.
I totally agree. I'm so happy. I've been telling him to do this for a long time.
I know. We all have. So
Yeah.
I'm glad he finally took the leap.
I agree. So, Baldwin High School, and then you became a Gamecock.
Oh, yes, I'm a Gamecock. We've always been terrible at sports. But I was looking for, I knew since I was 12 years old, John, J.D. Hayworth. Do you remember him on WYFF?
Yes.
So he went on, I think, to become a congressman, but he was our sportscaster. He came into my sixth grade classroom
Oh.
and talked about journalism. And I knew right then and there I was going to get my degree.
Right.
And Mom and Dad were like, you can go anywhere you want, but if it's in state and state supported, we'll pay for it. And so I said, okay.
Yeah.
And Carolina had a really great journalism
Yes.
program. So
Yeah.
went there and had probably too much fun in the 4 years that
Yeah.
I was there. Yeah.
That's of course so great. I remember the journalism program was great. Is it still great?
My understanding is it's still very highly regarded.
Okay.
They've got a lot of broadcast experience down there, and they do a lot from the digital perspective as well. So
Okay. Well, that's great. That's there's certainly pockets of that school that are very good. They used to have the best international business program in the country,
yes.
maybe the world. Anyway, you went down there. You had a good time. Did
Yes.
Carolina have any good football teams while you were there?
Not while I was in school. Basketball was decent. Wasn't
Okay.
women's basketball at that time. We
Right.
were decent in basketball, but no, it's never really been about the team. It's about the tailgate and the good time and the fun.
They can't
And-
beat us at the tailgate.
No,
We got the
tailgate's fun,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I always just went to have a good Saturday time.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've got a niece and a nephew there now, and I don't think they've crossed paths one time. I mean, just they're
It's a huge school.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you got out. Did you go right to ScanSource?
I didn't. I actually got out. We were in a little mini recession in the early 90s. And I actually substitute taught for a while in school just to have something to do while I look for a job. But my first job was working for the Metropolitan Arts Council.
Oh, okay. The
and I
MAC.
did Downtown
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that was, I mean, who wouldn't love that job as a
Wonderful.
21,
Yeah.
22-year-old
Yeah,
playing a happy hour for all of Greenville every Thursday?
yeah.
So,
That was what years would that have been?
94
Yeah,
probably?
that was
Yeah.
prime data stream time.
Oh,
All
yeah.
those young people,
Oh, yes.
I mean, that half your crowd worked in our sales department.
Yes, they did, because I knew them. Because, when you're from here, you know other
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
And yes, it really helped, I think, make that downtown kind of an evening
yeah,
destination that people could go to before they went to dinner
yeah.
or had the rest of their evening.
That was
It's
great.
fun.
Do they still do that?
They still do it. It's a little different. They do it at the Hyatt.
Yeah,
And so it was back in the Piazza Bergamo
right.
back in the day.
It was like a little
It was
area.
like a little area. I
Perfect.
think it's now City One Plaza.
Yeah,
And it was fun.
yeah. I think I've been down there a few times. I think it's pretty good, but sometimes when you lose, like let's say the people that were running it change, and the venue changes, the pixie dust is gone. You can't redo it.
You can't take it back. It's all official now. I think
Yeah,
we sold tickets, and I
yeah.
bought them at Wilson's Five and Dime.
So did David Poe work for you for a little while? Do you remember David?
I remember David. He did not, but I do remember
So I'll
David.
tell you my David story because he did work for you. He worked for Downtown Alive, maybe when he was looking for a
Yeah,
job.
might have been after me.
And I interviewed him, and yeah, he was a great interview. And I said, "What else are you up to?" And he goes, "Well, I'm volunteering at Downtown Alive, just till I figured I'd meet some people, whatever. He goes, you ought to come on down." I'm like, "All right." So I went on down there, and he was working in the beer tent.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, give me one of those beers. And he handed it to me. He goes, "That'll be $6." And I'm like, "Wait a second. You invited, don't you?" And he goes, "That's the rules." And that's the moment I decided to hire him because I knew he was, he was strong. He wasn't going to let me push him around for a free beer.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it was a good moment. He was a great salesperson, a great manager, and now just a great friend. So, but it all started at Downtown Alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, connections.
Yes, connections. I think it's one of the things about, like you, we travel around, we see some other nice places, but there's just such an advantage to having a deep bench of friends and connections in a town
I agree.
from high school,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
From Malden, from Gamecockville, from ScanSource for the ages, from Downtown Alive. If you and I picked up and we just said we're going to move to San Diego, it's a beautiful place. You're starting from ground zero.
Yeah, and ground zero is hard.
Yes.
This is not only where I grew up, but where everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, especially when you're looking at working and doing business in this area, I think those connections really do help you
Yeah.
as you look to move things forward.
Yeah.
And so I really love it. We were even out at the Triumph made an announcement yesterday
Oh.
about Malden. They're going to have a 10,000 seat stadium out at Bridgeway Station. And as the lineup of speakers came out, I'm like, oh, yeah, I went to school with that one, went to school with this one.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of nice to know folks.
Yes. Yes. Those decisions, when I get to talk to young people, mostly about entering sales or something, but we kind of talk about life too. I'm like, when you're say in high school, you almost haven't made a decision yet.
Right.
Yeah. And then you have to decide where to go to college. That could be a dartboard, but I mean, let's just say we pick a college. There's one decision. Then you've got really just a few more to make, and you make them all, could be in the next couple of years for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing? And who am I going to be doing it with?
Yeah. And pivotal decisions to make
Pivotal.
when you're young.
Yes.
And this is where it's so important that you have that foundation, whether it's your family, whether it's a mentor, whether it's your friends that have differing opinions than you may, to kind of really help ground you and help figure out the pros and cons. At the end of the day, it's ultimately your decision. But you've got to have some good advice, I think, to really put you on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah. And I my challenge has been, particularly at that age, is I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I know what I want to do. I'm going to do it. And if I ask someone about it, there's a chance they might tell me something I don't want to hear. And so, but that's the wrong way to be thinking. You just got to say, I'll hear everything, I'll sort it all out, and then I'm going to choose.
It's hard, but when you're young, you don't realize
No.
that input from other people is valuable.
Yeah.
But don't ask if you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Because people are going to tell you.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson in your
Yeah.
early 20s. It's hard in your 50s some days. I'm like, I know I'm going to do what I want to do.
I know.
But I think that I've been fortunate. I know you have too. You have to surround yourself with those folks that are going to lift you up, going to cheer you on,
Yeah.
but also going to grab you by the shirt collar and go, what are you doing?
Right.
And I think it's important to kind of have that group, whether it's your family, your friends, coworkers, or a combination.
Right.
You really got to have that sounding board
Right.
to help you along.
Well, I'm still learning.
Always.
Always still learning.
Always. There's something to learn every day.
I know. Okay, well, let's back up. I keep
Okay.
getting ahead of myself. So
Fine.
you were with the MAC, the Metropolitan Arts Council.
Yes.
And who ran the MAC?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
Who runs it now?
Alan runs it now, I
Alan.
believe. He was not there when I was there. I do not remember the lady's name.
Okay. Alan
been a while.
Estridge, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Etheridge runs it now, yeah. And I want to say, I think the festival is run by a different group now too. I think it benefits
Okay.
the MAC, but we used to run it ourselves.
I think that's a smart move for the listeners. If you're getting out of school and you're not sure what you want to do, or you can't find a job or whatever, go to work for some organization that does something for all the businesses in the city, like the chamber, the MAC, because then you have the business card that allows you in every door,
100%.
and you get to meet everyone.
Yeah, I met all kinds of people. I met business owners in the downtown district.
Yeah.
I got to serve on different boards
Yeah.
that were down there that were, destination downtown
Yeah.
was the big mantra then.
Yeah.
Now we have plenty of people downtown
Right, it's
that
like stay
that
out
are
of
coming
downtown.
coming to enjoy everything. But you're right. I got to meet people at the Chamber of Commerce. I got to meet local business people.
Yeah.
And so it really helped me figure out kind of what I wanted to do. And I knew I liked events. I had in college worked for One Price Clothing Stores in their corporate office and gotten to do some of their events. And so I said, well, this sounds like a fun job. I'll be able to use my skills and do it. And it was fun for a while. But back then, nonprofits didn't have luxuries like benefits, significant pay raises. So as you moved on, it was a great training ground.
Yeah.
But I started to look and go, okay, what else is out there
Yeah.
that can move me to the next place that I want to be?
Right. And was that ScanSource?
It was ScanSource. So it's a funny story. Laura Bauer and Teresa Roche
Yes.
owned the White Room at the time, and they always used to say, "Oh, you should go talk to my husband." Laura
And the
would
White
always
Room
say,
was like the nicest,
nicest wedding place.
store.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I love my job. Like, my job is so fun. And so it was funny because I didn't even realize that ScanSource was that company until I had gotten an offer there. So, and I came in the door a little bit sideways. They owned a wholly owned subsidiary called Transition Marketing. So I actually walked in the door as an employee of Transition Marketing. And we were owned by ScanSource and Global. So Global is also, they were an IT distributor. They're no longer.
Yeah.
And that lasted, I don't know, a series of months. And then we were absorbed 100% by ScanSource. But walked in doing events for them.
Okay.
Same concept, different events.
So how did you know how did you get the interview?
I had a friend that I went to college with that already worked there.
You had a connection.
I had a connection.
Yeah.
And she showed up at Downtown Alive one night, and it was just one of those setups. It was hot. I was lugging all the tables. They didn't have the plastic 6-foot tables then. They were the wooden ones. And she said, you should come work for us. We're hiring. And I'm like, okay, great. So went and met with them and got offered the job. And I will tell you, one of the mistakes I made as a young person was agreeing to go over for the same salary that I was currently making at my old job. So in my mind, I rationalized, benefits and other things. The older me would never do that.
Yeah.
But the younger me at the time did.
Yeah.
And so I've learned everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
And it was a life lesson for me. And so I always try and talk to interns or young folks that are coming in to work with us to go, you have a value, and it's okay to ask. You don't
Right.
always get a yes, but you can always ask.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
you don't get without getting.
Right.
It's a Bill Garcia
Yeah. Absolutely.
quote.
It's just really important that people understand that, is that they at least attempt to understand what kind of value I'm bringing to the business owner.
Yes.
If I come to work for you, I'm going to bring you $1 million a year.
Yeah.
You're going to pay me 150. I'm going to shake on it. Sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with the business owner, they'll shake on that all day long.
100%.
But if you're dealing with, the HR person, they're going to be like, "Oh, we can't give out more than a 3% raise this year. It's in the rule book right here."
Yeah. It's always an interesting process.
So you used connections, power of connections,
Yes.
to get that first job, and I'll give you credit. At least you got your foot in the door at a better place.
I got my foot in the door and I asked for a leg up fairly quickly.
Yeah,
Fairly quickly once I got my foot in the door.
good.
Yeah.
Good. They knew what they had.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. And so you were doing events,
Yes.
and did you do any events down in Savannah?
We did events in Savannah later
Yeah.
in my career. Early on, we were doing large pipe and drape trade shows
Okay.
that we were putting on and technology sessions with end users and with resellers. It was very interesting at the time. And so we would be responsible for all of it. There were 2 of us in events, and we were scrappy and small at the time.
Yeah.
So we had a lot
2
of
of
people
you.
from the team that would come together to pull off
Yeah.
these events of magnitude. But as I look around, I'm always one of those that's like, okay, what's next? Like, this is great, but what else can I do to provide more value?
Right.
So also so that I can learn my skills.
Yeah.
But I knew at that time I wanted to go back and ask for more.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, I had to give more,
Yeah.
not just ask for more.
Yeah.
So I got more responsibility and then made some asks about doing some other things.
And was that in merchandising?
It was. So I took on some things and then I moved into a merchandising role. Mm-hmm.
And so, just for everyone to understand, it's taken me a long time to understand this. I understand the sales side.
Yeah.
Merchandising means you're dealing with your suppliers.
With suppliers. And we
Okay.
now call it the supplier business. Back
That's
then
better.
it was
Thank you.
merchandising. Yes, merchandising to me means you're at the department
Yeah,
store and you're
merchandise, yeah.
merchandising. Yes, so it was a line where I was responsible for marketing that supplier out to our reseller community. It's
Okay.
kind of what it was in a nutshell. And got to do that and loved it. Had a good time.
Yeah.
Again, always looking around for kind of what's next. And that's been what's so great about being with a distributor, is that you have lots of different types of jobs. It's like a mini city in there.
Right.
You've got HR, you've got finance, you've got tech, you've got sales, you've
Right.
got supplier, you've got marketing. And so they're all different types of roles. And you can go in there, make your connections with people that work there, deliver when you're asked to do something,
Yeah.
and then opportunities open.
Yeah.
And it's about this time too, John, that I really started looking to at other ways to personally fulfill what I wanted to do, which was to help kids and to be very compassionate and focused on what we could do for the betterment of others. And
Right.
so we had a foundation. And so I served on that board for many, many years
Okay.
and started some different programs with the help of a lady named Joan Burkett. And she and I worked on a lot of different things that kind of fulfilled that nonprofit vein that I had come to love at the Arts Council, but also allowed me to have a job and get paid for
And
it.
so that's when you transitioned to the philanthropy side of the business?
Yeah, yes and no. I've had probably 12 different jobs in the building. We
Right.
could talk about the different
I know
jobs.
you were
but
marketing and merchandising, merchandising.
yeah, and back again.
Yeah.
I did services for a little while. So yes, I went to Mike, who's our CEO, in January. And, COVID put a damper on a lot of things. ScanSource has always been super intentional about finding needs in the community and working on programs to fulfill those needs. So over the years, we've worked with the Dunbar Child Development Center to extend their K-4 to full day. to offer English as a second language coursework, to have a mom and baby room. We brought a dental mobile to Greenville so that low-income places could have access to dental care. Mammography stuff, helped with the New Horizons Health Clinic. We've always said, let's focus on the need and where it is. And so I felt like I could add some value there in January. I wasn't looking to move roles. I left my job. I was running North America channel marketing. And he said, this is terrific. I want you to come work for me. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not asking for a job. I said, I'll do it on nights and weekends. And so that lasted not that long. And so I agreed to kind of come on board and work, hard work, rewarding work, to figure out what we could do as a company. We have access to all of our employees, our suppliers, our partners. Everyone has time, talent, and resources. And some people have all three. And so it was really important for me, for us to create something very intentional to take forward. And so we, one of the ideas that Mike and I talked about early on was we would like to look at a Title I school. And so when we started looking at that, we both agreed we wanted Title I, we wanted the west side of Greenville. Because we have, I want to say it's either 10 or 12 Title I schools in Greenville County at the elementary level. And that is a federal program where those schools receive some extra money. And so typically when you have a Title I school, you also have 100% reduced or free lunch. So met with the school district, met with public education partners, and a lot of these connections that I had made along the way very quickly, and came up, and we're actually working with Thomas Kearns Elementary now, which is right down the road. They have, it's interesting, John, they have no PTA. So not that the parents don't want to be involved, they're just working. And so that opportunity for them to be there isn't as much. And so we are looking at how do we take a 360-degree view of that school and of that child, everything from nutrition to clothing and hygiene, education, mentorship, life skills. How do we kind of wrap that around? And so we're fortunate that ScanSource has a foundation. And so the foundation has been generous enough to fund this endeavor and help us build a pilot here that we can prove out, figure out what works, and then move to other populations where we have people across the United States.
Very nice.
And so it's this that I'm most passionate about. How do we do that? What is it going to take? And how do we get teachers to stay? Why would you stay at this school when you could be at a school 2 miles down the road where you're being showered with gifts and showered with parent helpers and all the things? So we've got to make that staff want to stay there as well.
That's tough. That's tough. But I love the idea of trying to figure out a model that can work in lots of places. You know, Upward Sports did that. You're familiar with Upward Sports? They're over in Spartanburg, but they had a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was like in charge of the sports for this big Baptist Upward Baptist church. And sports got so popular that they had to build another gym and then build another gym. And pretty soon they just had all these people using the gym, and he had this great, kind of religious-oriented basketball thing going on. And one of the board members, someone like Mike, said, why don't we quit building gyms and let's take this model global? And that's what they did. So Upward Sports is everywhere now with using this model. So I love the idea of doing that. When you went to Mike and you wanted to start helping more in January, how long did it last before you went full time?
Well, let's see. I think I officially got announced in June.
Okay.
So a couple of months, but there were some behind the scene things that, always take some time to work out. And then we had our Partner First event. And so we had to get through that as well. So it's probably, I would say, less than 90 days really kind of focused on the work. But again, if you find something you love and that you're passionate
Yeah.
about, I was willing to work the nights and weekends
Yeah.
because, you know, children have no collateral.
Right.
Children have no ability to do for themselves. They don't have access to food. They don't have access to transportation. They don't have access to put a roof over their head.
Yeah.
And so, regardless of the situation that they're in from a guardianship or parent perspective, they deserve what every other kid has in Greenville County. And while the shell of the school is the same, the contents of the school differs. And so I really felt like our employee population could get behind this and really make a difference.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. We talk a lot about how change takes everyone. So it takes every employee, every supplier,
Yeah.
every partner, every person involved to really affect what's going on. And so it's one step, right? And it's a drop in the bucket. But if we can make that better, if we can make that experience more
Well,
meaningful.
Some, you might reach one kid
Mm-hmm.
who ends up being the person who solves school problem.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. And this school, they work hard. The principal's fantastic.
Yeah.
The teachers are hardworking. We're just there to kind of help them along.
Yeah.
You know, I took donuts in yesterday. Yeah, that was yesterday. I got to see the sunrise at the school. School starts at an insane hour.
Oh man.
So teachers have to be there between 6:45 and 7.
Yeah.
And so we had parlor donuts delivered. Fancy, you know what I'm talking about? The fancy.
No.
Oh, okay. They're fancy layered donuts.
Okay.
They're delicious. You would have thought we brought gold in that door. I mean, that and cold brew coffee.
You're going
And
wild.
it was such a hit. But they deserve to be treated. They haven't been treated. And so, you know, just all those things. And I'll tell you, one of the early ideas in brainstorming with the school was a festival. So in 5.5 weeks with Helene in the middle of it,
Yeah.
we pulled off a fall festival at that school. And we served them happily with everything. We had a trunk or treat. We had tattoos, crafts, games. Chick-fil-A came and did dinner,
Yeah.
Poppington's popcorn, all of the things. They said, oh, we've never had more than 300 show up to anything. We said, okay, let's plan for 550. 500 people, 50 volunteers. Over 700 people showed up.
Whoa.
700.
Well, I would like to offer a pledge of jazz trio.
Yeah.
Anytime you think the music would be helpful,
I would love it.
just tell me. I'll bring the boys and we'll
Okay.
play.
I think that would be amazing.
Good exposure to the children, maybe.
I think it'd be great exposure. You know, just getting people in there and exposing them to different things. You know, we're trying to get them, do we get them to a drive game or to the children's museum? And how do we provide transportation and make that a family night? So really, I think exposure
I think exposure
to
is
things
huge.
that are different is huge for them. at
That's
that
always
age.
been my biggest thing with my kids and now my grandkids. It's just see this, meet these people, just where they start to kind of put it all together and get, see a bigger picture of the world.
Yeah. I think it'd be great. I'll definitely take you up on that.
All
And do
right,
not
you got
forget.
the card. You got
I got the card. That's right.
So on the new job,
Yeah.
heading up to Philanthropy for ScanSource, what has surprised you so far?
I think there have been a couple of things. So one of the first things I did was call a lady named Katie Smith. And if you don't know Katie, she's phenomenal. She works for Greater Good Greenville, and they bring together funders and nonprofits.
Okay.
We have nearly 3,000 nonprofits in the upstate.
Whoa.
It's a huge number, but the number of funds aren't necessarily correlating with the growth of nonprofits. And so that really surprised me that there were that many different types of things. The second thing that I think really surprised me is just the passion and the spirit, not surprised me, but just to watch how hard everyone works in that space. And I think people, not that they don't value nonprofits, but I think they're like, oh, you're going to go work for a nonprofit. They're working just as hard, if not harder, than people who are working for corporations or businesses. And so there's a lot of hard work, and these folks are super passionate about making the world a better place.
Yeah.
So it's been really lightened my day and brightened my outlook to feel that passion
Yeah.
about what goes around. Even during Hurricane Helene is a great example.
Yeah.
Mike and I were texting quickly, like, hey, what do we do? Our employees were able to raise a lot of money in conjunction with our suppliers and partners for Operation Airdrop. That was airlifting supplies. But I even checked on our nonprofit partners and talking to Dan from Mill Village. He's like, hey, can you meet me at Sam's in Easley in 20 minutes? Like, well, where in Easley is the Sam's? He's like, oh, it's close. It's close. I'll shoot it to you.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And they were out there, John, every day filling a huge refrigerated truck with supplies. And they were driving and dropping off in Swannanoa, in Lake Lure, in Asheville every single day. And people were showing up. And you just have to ask. And people want to do. People want to help.
Right.
People at our offices want to give back. And so we have to just provide those opportunities
Right.
for people to serve.
Right.
And, that's what really drives culture. People want to talk about culture at companies and kind of what, how do you get your culture that you have? It's very different when you're standing next to John out of sales and Wendy out of this department. We may not have known each other before, but when you go and serve with someone, it's a different forged relationship. It's a different connection point that you have to someone that you work with.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge.
I think it's a wonderful answer. I love the forging, but what you said before that was that people want to be helpful. They want to serve. And your new job is to make that available to them. Like we're doing this Saturday and this so-and-so and so and this so-and-so. And but if you don't ask me or tell me what's going on, I'm not going to really be looking for it.
Right.
I watch the football game or something,
100%.
So I think that's kind of just people in general.
Yeah, you've got to tell them, and then you've got to, this is our foundation. We're really lucky. It's employee-led. So none of our executive team has a say on kind of how they operate and what they fund. But I think you've got to give people the opportunity to serve, but you've also got to show people what you're building or what you've built.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just as important for people to understand, because some people have resources, some people have time, and some people have talent. And so and some have all three.
Yeah.
Some are very talented.
Yeah.
But I think that you've got to show people, it's kind of, if you build it, they will come. They will. But you've got to go show them, how are you using the dollars that they gave you out of their paycheck or that the supplier was generous enough to send in.
Yeah. I always ask, like, some of these organizations in the state that are, like, taking state money or, investors' money, whatever, and giving it to startups. And they're all like, we funded 14 startups. And I'm like, has any of them done any good?
Right.
And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, seriously, do you have 1 out of 10, 1 out of 14? And, I think that whether they have or not, that's the question to ask is what's the graduation rate now?
Right.
Or what's the truancy rate or whatever the thing is.
100%. There's always got to be a metric. You've got to measure your impact in order to know whether or not what you're doing is working.
Right.
That's why I love the word pilot. This is a pilot.
Yeah.
We're going to build it and see. But yes, we're going to be relying on OnTrack and some other programs in Greenville County to really start looking at, how is that working? I mean, do we have less, referrals into the office? Has it affected absenteeism? Is it affecting test scores?
Yeah.
Do I think that a fall festival is going to raise our test scores? No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But by having additional people in that classroom, additional support, a staff that feels appreciated, a student population that knows that there's another group of people that care about their success is huge.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. We'll get back to that in a minute.
All right,
but
I can talk about that all day.
No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Let me ask you a couple of important details.
Okay.
What's your favorite all-time book?
That's a really hard question. If I had to look for a book as a kid, I liked reading Little Women. My grandmother always had an abbreviated version of it on her shelf, and I was the only granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was it. It was either that or you got like the round ball to throw outside. There was not a lot to do. So I always read that. As an adult, The Help is one of my favorites. And I know I should probably tell you a business book, but
What's
I
the
love
adult
it.
book?
The Help.
The Help.
The Help. It
Okay.
was also made into a movie.
Okay.
I tend to gravitate to historical fiction.
Okay. Well, I hadn't read one of those yet, but I'll put them on the list. What about favorite band?
Oh, I got to go with my boys from Hootie and the Blowfish.
Hootie.
You know, it's. I was there during a pivotal time before they made it big.
They were playing around
They were
campus
playing
then?
around campus. I knew all the guys.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was pretty amazing
Mm,
when I graduated, and I think they hit it big like a year and a half later. So
it's amazing.
it's amazing, and they were all super nice and still are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I started following Mark on
Oh yeah.
Instagram, I guess. He seemed very active, does a lot of stuff.
He does a lot. He's got a new beverage company. I think he's been doing a lot with that.
Called
So,
High.
High. Yes. High Seltzer.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. He's a musician.
He's a musician.
Okay. Did you see them when they came through?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. What a. It seems to me that would be one heck of a fun summer at this age to kind of redo it.
It would be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great.
Sure.
Favorite word?
Purpose.
Purpose. That is good. Purpose solves a lot of things, doesn't it?
Solves a lot of things.
Yeah.
Guides you personally, professionally.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs a purpose.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Money does not give you a purpose.
No, it doesn't.
All right. Let's give you a last chance to promote what you're doing and how maybe other people could chip in and help or follow what you're doing.
100%. So we would love to have partners come alongside, whether it's at Thomas Kearns or whether it's at the school that's local to wherever your area
Yeah.
is. There are children that need a little extra help, and that could be through your company, or if you're not quite sure what to do, you could go to a mentoring organization like Mentor Upstate, and they could match you with the child just to make a difference. It's half an hour a week,
Right.
and everybody can find the time.
So you can
We're all
sign up
busy.
to mentor a child,
Mhm.
half an hour a week.
Yep,
You could contact Wendy directly about
they can contact me.
partnering.
100%.
Yeah.
I had a lady the other day from SCI Electronics that I met at a different event, and we're going to put together Thanksgiving baskets for the staff at that school. And she goes, I want to help. I
Yeah.
was like, okay. Do you want to take care of this piece? She goes, yeah. Let me go get funding for that. I'm like,
Good.
terrific. So,
And it's wendy.thacker@scansource.com.
yeah, sure is.
I knew it. I
Yeah.
knew it. Okay, so contact Wendy directly for any any ideas you have about working together on these kind of issues. But I am so happy that you were able to come today.
I
We've
really
had a
enjoyed it.
long friendship.
I've known you many, many years. We don't need to tell everybody how many is.
And your brother, your wonderful brother Mike, worked for me for a while, and
Yep.
we've become friends subsequent to that. And he's delightful.
Yeah, he's probably sold you a car too.
All
Maybe
of
not the
them.
$1 million one, but yeah.
Every car I buy or sell, Mike does for me because I think I just don't want to deal with it. He does a much better job than me, and it also gives me a chance to interface with him.
Mhm.
You know, it's like an excuse to play with Mike on something. Yeah, but I'm delighted you're here. I think what you're doing is wonderful. I want to hook you up with my sister Elizabeth. She does the same kind of thing for a different organization. So maybe y'all
Awesome.
could do some stuff together.
I would love that.
Okay.
Be awesome.
But thanks again, and maybe come back in a year and give us an update because
Sounds
you've
terrific.
just kind of gotten into this.
Just really getting started. Done
Yeah.
a lot for just getting started,
Yeah.
but we're just really getting started.
Okay.
So
Well, Wendy, you're doing great stuff. You have a wonderful purpose, and we're glad you joined us today.
awesome. Thank you for the
Okay,
opportunity.
thank you.
Yeah.